Okay, start streaming. I can now see the video is streaming. Do I have sound? I can now see the video is streaming. Do I have sound? Yes, I do. It seems to be working excellently. Hello? Oh, hang on. Has this got my face in it? No, it's not. That hasn't got my face. Right, stop. Okay, so is it working now? Okay, so is it working now? Yes, it is, and I can see my face. Okay. Sounds a little bit off, but I don't know if there's anything I can do about that. Right then, let's talk Yellowstone. Have I given this video a title? Yes. Is Yellowstone going to erupt in 2023? So, well, let's start to answer that question. First of all, hello, I'm Jake, aka HamStuff, your favourite curly-haired volcano nerd. And there's a lot of clickbait on the internet. Let's check YouTube. The Yellowstone. There was a television series apparently. Volcano. There's what if it happened tomorrow? What? It could be huge. It could be an earthquake. Shakes Yellowstone. Well, no, it doesn't. NASA insider just revealed something about Yellowstone that wasn't supposed to become public. A massive chunk of magma has started pulsating. Yet, citation needed. This supervolcano scientists freaking out. No, it doesn't. Look, monthly update of activity, Yellowstone volcano, January 1st, 2023. From the United States Geological Survey. They do monthly updates. They have an observatory website. People think they're covering it all up. What exactly do you think they're covering up? Right, volcano updates. Nothing says doom and gloom. Yeah, people say there's thousands of earthquakes. Yeah, there are. So hazards, anything on these earthquakes. Because the reason we know there's earthquakes is because of data, maybe it's in there. The University of Utah Seismograph Station. Research. Latest earthquakes. Oh, that's just all over the United States. In what time frame? Okay, so the past day. There's usually a couple of thousand earthquakes. Yellowstone. A year. It's not uncommon. I mean, today there've not been any so far. Of Utah Yellowstone seismographs. I just want to talk a bit. And the reason I wanted to do this new podcast is, well, I love volcanoes. The best podcast I've ever listened to is Popular Volcanics by Doctors Janine Krippner and Eric Clemetti, but they don't do it anymore. The world is at a loss for interesting volcano podcasts. I wanted to see a full spectrum of it. I can't really show much one way or the other currently. I might have to come back to this topic another time. But let's check out the seismicity on the official website. During December 2022, the University of Utah seismograph stations responsible for the operation and analysis of Yellowstone seismic network located about 70 earthquakes in the Yellowstone National Park region. The largest event of the month was a minor earthquake of magnitude 2.5 located about 14 miles south-southwest of Mammoth Hot Springs in Yellowstone National Park on December the 1st at 5:41 p.m. What's MST? Is it Mountain Standard Time? I don't actually know. This event was part of an ongoing seismicity that began in the area on the 29th of July. In December, approximately 28 earthquakes were added to the sequence, and seismicity continued through the end of the month. Earthquake sequences like these are common and account for roughly 50% of the total seismicity in the Yellowstone region. Yellowstone earthquake activity is currently on background levels. But Yellowstone, it's inflating. We're in danger. It's getting ready to erupt. It's not. It's doing the opposite. Grand deformation. Is that inflation? Is it deflation? It's doing one or the other. That's what deformation means. So, continuous GPS stations at Yellowstone Caldera recorded gradual subsidence a rate of 2 to 3 centimetres or 1 inch per year, which has been ongoing since 2015. This subsidence was interrupted during the summer months as groundwater recharge from snowmelt caused the ground to swell slightly, but subsidence resumed in late October. A similar pattern of ground deformation was measured in the area of the Norris Guys Basin in early to mid-December. Snow and ice accumulation on GPS antennas due to a windstorm that impacted the region caused apparent subsidence of 1 to 2 centimetres less than an inch. This signal reversed itself within a few days as the storm passed and snow and ice covering the antennas diminished. They're pretty open and honest with everything. I mentioned the monthly updates. ESDS. Right, this is the United States Geological Survey YouTube channel. Let's check their playlist. Constant monthly updates. What are they updating us on if they're covering it up? There's a new thermal area. Do you know what that means? I have a vague idea. Predicting astrological impacts from a Yellowstone super eruption. So hypothetically, or based on things that have happened in the past, new Yellowstone hotspot. Let's have a look at that. Is this new thermal area we're meant to be worried about?
More than 10,000 thermal features pepper the landscape of Yellowstone National Park. Most of the hot springs, geothermal vents, and geysers are clustered around 120 distinct thermal areas. Scientists with the USGS Yellowstone Volcano Observatory use satellite and aerial imagery to map them as they expand and contract. They recently found an entirely new thermal area. It emerged quietly over 20 years, miles from the nearest trailhead but close to an existing hot zone. Landsat 8's thermal infrared sensors captured the change in a nighttime image from April of 2017. Heat signatures are clearest at night, when unheated ground is cool. Aerial images told more of the story. Forest covered the area in 1994, but the emergent thermal zone had begun to fry trees by 2006. Before long, the hotspot was unmistakable, with felled trees piled like toothpicks in a patch of land roughly the shape of a thumbprint. Scientists rely on both satellite and high-resolution airborne imagery archived with the Earth Resources Observation and Science Center to monitor Yellowstone.
So it's being honest about this part of the cover-up. Yeah, a new thermal area right next to another thermal area that already existed, so it's probably related. And it emerged over the course of 2 decades. It's not popped up in the last year. To a Lassen Peak, Cloud Home in California. Can I get some images of that because it has a thermal area itself, or either a fumarole field or something similar. Fumaroles being cracks where gases are released from underground magma. Thermal area. So, fumaroles, steaming ground, boiling mud pots, and there's an image of it there. You might have seen something similar to that. These numpties that say Yellowstone is going to erupt. Bumpers Hill, Lassen Peak. Can I see that? Does it take me to the video? So it's not the best resolution, but that's the sort of thing you might have seen that supposedly occurred in Yellowstone. Well, let's check Google Earth. I love Google Earth. Yes, Google Earth Yellowstone. But maybe they're related. Well, we'll see about that. Okay, let's go. Right, how do I zoom out? So clicking like mad doesn't seem to help. Just slowly zoom out with a few clicks at a time. Can I get rid of this? It's now 2 kilometers here. Where did it say this thermal area is?
More than 10,000 thermal features pepper the landscape of Yellowstone National Park.
Speed up a little bit.
Most of the hot springs, geothermal vents, and geysers are clustered around 120 distinct thermal areas. Scientists with the USGS Yellowstone Volcano Observatory use satellite and aerial imagery to map them as they expand and contract. They recently found an entirely new thermal area. It emerged quietly over 20 years, miles from the nearest trailhead, but close to an existing hot.
So, Turn Lake Thermal Area. Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, Hayden Valley, Tower Fall. What are you? Lamar Valley, Roosevelt Arch, Visitor Center, Terraces, Upper Terraces. Yeah, for a big, scary, doom and gloom thermal area, it's quite hard to find. Kern Lake. Let's see if I can find that. Wyoming, USA. No, I don't want Alaska. You just said it was in Wyoming. Well, one of these is probably a new thermal area. Let's say that one. Starting point. Zoom out it. No, I don't want to zoom out that much. The Earth is upside down. Let's fix that. California. San Francisco. I think it's there. But there's Mount Shasta. Lassen National Forest, so it's probably in here somewhere. Lassen Volcanic National Park. Well, I can't see exactly where it is, but just the exact location. Around here. So, finished. This thermal area and Lassen Peak, I've not heard anyone produce the ridiculous claim they're related, but they're over 1,000 kilometres away, which is 639 miles, so nearly 640 miles away. So travelling at the speed of sound, it would take you an hour. And of course, 604,568.36 smoots. If you don't know what a smoot is, that's 118.2 of them in a furlong. Another popular volcano, Kilauea and Mauna. They're all the way over there, even further. So this thermal area is the quote-unquote new one. I mean, yeah. If you mean it's emerged over the past 20 years, that is, in the last year and a half or 2 years, or, you know, incredibly recently on a human timescale. I can actually find the damn volcano now. Big scary volcano! I cannot find it. It is Wyoming. Is that it? That's no. Looks like a lake. Maybe for a super volcano, it doesn't stand out that much. I think part of it's in Montana as well. Ah, there it is, Yellowstone National Park. So there's Yellowstone Lake. Big scary volcano in here somewhere. So the ground isn't inflating, it's deflating. And inflation doesn't necessarily mean that the volcano is going to blow up anytime soon. The magma chamber breathes in and out in a process called bradyseism. Slow subsidence or updrift of the ground. I have a lovely picture of the Marcella of Pozzuoli and the Flagrea area. So, let's check Wikipedia or Wiktionary. So it's for the filling or emptying of an underground magma chamber and or hydrothermal activity, particularly in volcanic calderas. And bradyseismic, just relating to bradyseisms. Or seisms. I don't know how you pronounce that. But it's owned by the same people as Wikipedia. So if you want to take Wikipedia over the United States Geological Survey, go for it. Earthquakes updated. I don't see anything new. There's nothing in Yellowstone. But you know, would they tell us? Well, yes. Yes, they would. How do we know they would? Oh, that's 2022. That's the most recent one. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. Okay, we start off with earthquakes.
Happy New Year, everybody! I'm Mike Poland, the scientist in charge of the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory, and this is the monthly update for January 1st of 2023. Seems like a good opportunity to talk about the kinds of things we observed in Yellowstone over the course of the past year. Now, in terms of earthquake activity, it was a pretty average year. There were about 2,500 earthquakes that were located in the region during 2022. Now, over a third of those earthquakes were actually part of a single long-lived swarm near Grizzly Lake. That's between Norris Geyser Basin and Mammoth Hot Springs. There were over 1,000 earthquakes that occurred as part of this swarm, which started in late July and extended all the way into the fall. Now, that sounds sort of unusual, but it's not out of the ordinary. We see actually lots of earthquake swarms that can last for months. In fact, in 2017, there was an over 3-month long swarm that had 2,400 earthquakes. And this is
So, 2,400 earthquakes happened back in 2017. God, was that really 5-6 years ago? It's still not blown up.
Given all the faults in the area and all the water that's moving around in the subsurface, that's just a recipe for small earthquakes. There were a few magnitude 3s, but the vast majority were magnitude 2 and below. The largest earthquake of the year was a magnitude 4.2, and that occurred in the eastern part of the park back in May, and actually felt by many, many people that are in the Yellowstone region. That was the largest earthquake since 2017, but we get a magnitude 4 every now and then in the Yellowstone region. Deformation-wise, in terms of how the ground is moving, we saw a continuation of the sort of activity that we've seen for the last several years. The caldera region continued to slowly subside by about an inch or so per year, a couple of centimeters per year. Not much deformation in the Norris area, so it was really sort of a continuation of the kinds of patterns we've seen for several years now. Geyser activity, there wasn't a whole lot of spectacular stuff that happened. Steamboat Geyser, the tallest active geyser in the world, erupted 11 times in 2022. Now, this may seem like a lot, but it's a far cry from what we've seen in years past. In 2018, when Steamboat came alive, it had 32 eruptions. There were 48 each in 2019 and 2020, and there were 20 eruptions in 2021. So Steamboat may be on the decline right now.
So this idea that they'd cover up that Yellowstone was leading to an eruption, how exactly? You can find the data online. I just haven't had time to do it during this podcast. How many people visit Yellowstone every year? Yellowstone yearly visitors. 4.86 million. So why are there not 4.8 million people telling us that Yellowstone's going to erupt? Surely if it's that obvious that people can see the ground has risen, that there's new thermal areas, like magma is on the way to the surface, it's moving upwards. Why have we heard nothing about it from any scientist? Or any of the millions of people who've visited the park? It said, this 4.6 earthquake was felt by many people. It happens every now and then, but if it's an earth-shatteringly large earthquake that they're trying to cover up as part of a sign that Yellowstone's going to erupt, how? How could you possibly cover up impending doom and gloom from the most famous supervolcano on the planet? Even if you think all the scientists are all in it together, you've got 4.8 million people visiting every year. How many people visit Old Faithful? So 4 million visitors. And how many out of those 4 million people are saying there's doom and gloom? There's a couple of idiots on YouTube are saying, but I cannot understand where they get their so-called information. Yeah, bear in mind, I'm not an actual scientist, so everything I say you should check with an actual scientist. In the description, I'll put an email address for Yellowstone Volcano Observatory, so you can go talk to them. Show them this video, ask them, am I talking nonsense or am I actually correct? If you are one of the people who thinks that the United States Geological Survey is covering up an impending eruption of the most famous supervolcano on the planet, with over 4 million visitors a year, how? That's my question. How? I'm going to go back to this page, then as soon as I see myself go back to this page, I'm going to say goodbye and end the stream. So thank you very much for watching.